What's going on, guys? Boost Auto here with another installation video. Today we're going to be showing you how to install our S-Series cab lights onto your third generation Ram truck that does not originally have cab lights. Our S-Series solution is going to come with everything you need. Cab lights, wiring, template, everything you can need to install it onto your truck. So let's get into it.
Introducing our S-Series cab lights by Boost Auto. Offered with a wide variety of customizable options, these cab lights are sure to set your build apart from the rest, enhance visibility, and add a premium touch to your vehicle's appearance with our exclusive features. Light up the night with Boost Auto's crisp white or sleek amber running lights that will leave your build looking sharp. You can also option for our jaw-dropping startup sequence, adding personality to your vehicle from the moment you turn the key. Plus, we've developed groundbreaking technology with our S-Series module that enables turn signal functionality without the need to run extra wires up to the cab lights. Get them in a standard flashing signal or option for the more premium sequential signal where the lights swipe instead of flash. The best part is, both styles are available in switchback, so they'll fit right in with the rest of the Boost Auto products on your truck. Our S-Series cab lights' innovative construction means you'll get a watertight seal without the need for adhesives or sealants. Plus, with our precision engineering, our cab lights will fit flush perfectly, matching the curvature of your vehicle's roof. Couple things to note before we get into the install. First, the procedure outlined in this video is for third generation Ram trucks that did not originally come with factory cab lights. If your vehicle did come with cab lights and you're looking to upgrade, or your vehicle is a different year range, head on over to boostauto.com for the latest in fitment and availability and to purchase all we have to offer. Let's get into it.
Before we get started, let's make sure to disconnect the battery. If you have an auxiliary battery, disconnect that at this time too. First thing we're going to do is remove the A-pillar. On the A-pillar, there's these two covers covering up some 10mm bolts. We'll use a small pick to get in there and pop the covers open. And we'll use a 10mm to remove the bolts. Once those bolts are removed, you can firmly pull on the A-pillar and it will come out. Some trucks might have a tweeter down here, a little speaker. If yours has that, be sure to unplug it at this time. On the sun visor, there are 3 T20 screws. Remove those now. For the sun visor support, just securely pull down on just the back piece. It should just pop down like that. That way the headliner can drop. Now on the overhead console here, we need to pop off these plastic lenses. So you can just take a small little pick and the lens should pop down. Underneath that lens, there will be a T20 on each side. We'll remove that now. Once those 2 screws are out, there's just a couple trim clips here at the front. Just securely pull down and the overhead console will remove. Depress any of the latches on the back side that are holding the connectors in place so you can fully remove the overhead console. Set the overhead console to the side. Once you've removed the overhead console, there are these 2 screws underneath. They're oftentimes Torx. In this case, it's actually a Phillips head screwdriver, so we'll remove those now. I'm going to repeat all the steps over on the passenger side. Passenger side's exactly the same as the driver's side, so we're not going to cover it on camera, and then we'll be right back with you. In order to get enough drop out of the headliner, we need to just remove this upper B-pillar here. There's 2 bolts underneath the grab handle, so we'll expose the covers and remove them. Now we need to remove the upper piece of the seat belt here. There's this trim piece holding it on. Slide it towards the rear of the vehicle while kind of prying out. And that will come off, exposing this Torx bolt. Now this upper B pillar is just held on with some trim clips. We offer these plastic trim tools on our website. If you don't have a set, I highly recommend you get one just so you don't mar up the plastics. We're going to use a plastic interior trim removal tool. Just get behind the plastic so we can pop those clips out. and we'll just pull the upper B-pillar out. Now I'll just remove the upper B-pillar on the passenger side and I'll be right back with you to drop the headliner. Last thing holding the headliner up is going to be this rubber seal. So we'll just pull down on it a little bit. That way the headliner can drop. Last thing we'll do is we'll unplug the connectors here for the visors. So just pull up on that latch, pull out at on the connector at the same time. It'll come undone. We'll repeat that on the driver's side, and then it's time to install our cab lights. For the template, we'll start by chopping it into these 3 sections down the dotted lines, then just cut around the edges on every individual template, so we're left with just 3 templates. Now before we tape down the templates, we need to find the center point of the roof. To do that, I have this flexible tape measure and I'm just measuring all the way across the roof so I get my full length dimension. Dividing by 2, this halfway point is going to be what we use to line up our center point. So mark the center point of your windshield, that way we can line up our templates. Now when it comes time to lay these templates down, the little black arrow always points towards the windshield. So what we're going to do is we're going to send that black arrow up towards the windshield, and then you're going to line up the front line, and then along the sides you're going to line up the side lines with the curvature of the roof. And once you have the front line completely lined up and the side line lined up, we'll take some painter's tape and tape the template down. For the center template, we're just going to line it up with the front of the windshield. So once again, we're going to take that black arrow, and the black arrow on the center template actually lines up with the center point on the windshield. So we've already marked our center point. We're going to line the arrow up with the center point and make sure the curvature matches the front curve of the roof. And once that's done, we'll tape down the center template. Then for this last side template, once again, black arrow towards the front of the windshield, line up the sides and the front and tape it down. Now before we drill, I like to use this spring-loaded center punch to mark our center points. Just kind of helps guarantee success. It's not a necessity, but it certainly helps. So I'm going to take my spring-loaded center punch, I'm going to come right up to the middle of all the targets, and I'm going to center punch it. I'm going to do that across the entire roof, and I'll be right back with you. All right, now it's time to drill into the roof of the truck. I've got an 1/8" drill bit, and I'm going to drill an 1/8" hole across all 3 holes on the entire roof. I'm going to take my 1/8" drill bit, line it up with the previous area that I've center punched, and I'll drill straight in.
Continue to drill the remaining pilot holes across the rest of the roof.
With our 1/8" pilot holes drilled across the entire roof, we'll just untape and remove all the templates. All right, now the last thing we need to do is drill out the center hole a little bit bigger so that our connector can fit through. Before we do that, I like to just take some painter's tape and go around the hole. That way we're just kind of protecting the paint around the area that we're going to be drilling in. So I'm going to tape off the center hole for each cab light, and I'll be back with you to drill the hole out just a little bit bigger. Once you have that center hole taped off, I like to take a sharp object, you can use a pick or something of that nature, and just poke out the center hole. That way you know exactly where you're going to be lining up to make the hole bigger. Now the last thing we need to drill here is the center hole for every cab light to 1/2 inch. So I'm going to drill out the center hole to 1/2 inch for all the cab lights. The front and rear are going to stay at an 1/8 inch, so only drill out the center to 1/2 inch. All right, once you've removed all the tape and everything, we'll just take our preferred cleaner, clean off the surface, making sure we have a nice clean mounting surface for our new S-Series cab lights. All right, now the fun part. It's time to install your new Boost Auto S-Series cab lights onto the roof of your vehicle. Before doing that, I just want to go over something real quick. Our S-Series cab lights are numbered. So you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our cab lights have a very specific position on the roof. So it's important you put them on the roof in the proper position. Cab light number 1 is going to go on the far passenger side. Cab light number 5 is going to go on the far driver's side. So we're going to go 1 on the passenger side, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the driver's side. Let's get into it. All right, now each cab light is going to get 2 screws, and each screw is going to be provided a rubber gasket. Now, just to help with compression and everything, I like to just lightly get these gaskets wet. That way they nicely compress down. So I just have a little sponge here. I'm just getting the gaskets wet. You can run them under some water. That'll do the same thing. And we're going to assemble our gasket onto the screw. And now it's time to drop our cab light in place. So on the passenger side, we're going to grab cab light number 1. These are also numbered on the bottom side. So right here, it says 1. I'm going to make sure I have number 1. Remove the plastic protector. Guide the connector into the roof of the vehicle. Drop the cab light down into position. So now we're going to take a Phillips head screwdriver. Be sure to only use hand tools here. And fasten the 2 screws down. When you're doing this, be careful not to over-tighten the screws. I'm going to repeat that procedure. 1 here on the passenger side, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the driver's side. Let's get into it. All right, now we've got our cab light retrofit harness and it's time to plug it in. You're going to want to grab the end with all of these connectors on it, and that's what we're going to start with. We're going to find the very end of it, and the very end of it is going to plug into the passenger side cab light, the furthest one. So the very end of this is going to plug into cab light number 1. Now, something that's really important about these, you'll notice coming into these, there's a blue wire and a black wire. When you plug these into the cab lights, you need to make sure that the white wire from the cab lights lines up with the blue wire on the harness, and that the black wire from the cab lights lines up with the black wire on the harness. Make absolutely certain that you have blue to white and black to black to ensure the cab lights work properly. Now, the last thing I like to do is just take some electrical tape once these are firmly pressed together and just wrap the electrical tape around them just to kind of help secure that connector, make sure it can't come unplugged. I'm going to repeat that across all these connectors. Now it's time to take the harness down the A-pillar. You can see there's an existing harness running down the A-pillar, so we're just going to use some zip ties and tie the new retrofit cab light harness to the existing harness to keep it out of the way of the A-pillar. Now, in order to pass the wire down the kick panel, we're going to take a straightened out metal piece, in this case a coat hanger, and we're just going to take the edge of the wire and we're going to tape it to it. That way we can snake it down. Once we have it taped to it, we're just going to follow that same path of that other wiring harness and carefully snake the coat hanger straight down. Okay, once you get it down, you can pop your head under, and you should see it, so you can pull it straight on through. Then I'll just carefully pull all the wire through, being careful not to chafe it.
Now, take the straightened out metal piece and feed it through the grommet on the firewall into the engine compartment.
All right, now I've located the wire that passed through the firewall. I'm just going to pull it straight on through. The wiring harness will come with it. We can just pull all our slack into the underhood area. Now we'll just remove the wire from the coat hanger. Last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come in with some zip ties, find that wire harness and make sure that where it's passing through the firewall, it's free of any of the brake pedals or anything like that. We'll tie it up with some zip ties. Now that we have this wire in the underhood area, it's time to route it up towards the driver's side headlight. When doing this, you can kind of route right over in this area. Just make sure you're doing it free of any heat or moving components. Now it's time to remove the driver's side headlight. To do that, there's 3 10mm bolts holding it in. We're going to start by getting the back one out right over here. So first, there's this little grommet right here. This needs to be removed so we can get access to the 10mm bolt. And we'll remove the 2 10mm bolts here at the front. Once those 10mm are removed, the headlight will just come out of position. Now the connector we're going to be working with is this 3-pin park turn signal bulb right over here. In order to just get better access for filming, we're going to actually remove the bulb sockets and remove the entire headlight, but you don't necessarily have to do that. Now we'll finish passing the wire straight on down, right towards that 3-wire park turn bulb. Now you can see we've got some excess wire here. We're going to take our electrical multi-tool, cut this harness to length, leave just a little bit here. And then we're going to cut back the tape, expose the blue and black wires, and strip back the insulation. All right, now that we have the tape cut back, we're going to strip back the blue and black wires. All right, for those of you with running light only, it's time to dress your wires. We're going to take the provided fuse, and we're going to install the provided fuse onto the blue wire. So we're going to take the stripped end of the blue wire, place it into the butt connector on the fuse disconnect. We will crimp it down. Then on the black wire, we're going to take one of these spade terminals included with your kit. We're going to place the black wire into the spade terminal, and we'll crimp that down.
Now, we're going to take the provided red T-taps in your kit and install them on the wires in pin 2 and pin 3. If you have a wire loom on the connector, pull it back to gain access to the wires. Looking at it from the back with the bulb facing down, pin 3 is going to be all the way to the left, and pin 2 will be the wire in the middle.
So we will take those wires and we'll install the T-taps on them, place the wire into the metal jaws of the T-tap, and fold it over until it latches. If needed, you can use some needle nose pliers to help squeeze it down.
Once you have the T-taps installed, we're going to take the black wire from the retrofit harness and connect it to the T-tap on pin 3. Then, take the blue wire with the fuse and connect it to the T-tap on pin 2.
Last, we'll take the heat gun and we'll heat shrink the butt connector on the blue wire. All right, for those of you that are adding the turn signal functionality, this section's for you. We're going to be installing our S-Series module into the vehicle. The installation's pretty straightforward, so let's get into it. Let's take our S-Series module out of the provided box. And then on one end of the S-Series module, you can see there's going to be these 2 butt connectors. There's a blue wire and a black wire. This couldn't be any more straightforward. We're going to take our retrofit harness, the blue wire, we're going to install it onto the butt connector on the blue wire from the S-Series module. And we'll install the black wire from the retrofit harness to the black wire from the S-Series module as well. Once you have the blue and black wires connected, use a heat gun to heat shrink the butt connectors. Now included with your S-Series kit is going to be this 2-pin connector with the red and black wire. We're going to plug that into the S-Series module with the 2-pin connector containing the red and black wire. These are going to go straight up towards the battery. So we're just going to take our wire loom, pass the wires straight up towards the battery, making sure we keep the wires clear of any heat or moving components. And we'll bring the red wire right over here towards the positive battery terminal. We'll cut it to length and dispose of any excess wire. And same thing with the black wire. The black wire is going to come to the negative battery terminal. Get rid of any extra wire here. And then we're going to strip the ends of each wire. Okay, now on the red wire, we're going to take the end that we just stripped and we're going to install it into the provided fuse. So take it and install it into the butt connector. Then we'll crimp it down. On the other end of this fuse, you can see here it's pre-stripped. We'll remove the insulation and we're going to install one of the provided ring terminals onto that. Then on the black wire, we're simply going to install one of the provided ring terminals onto that. Now we need to totally remove the nut on the negative battery terminal so we can install the new ground lead. Install the black wire onto there. This can just be hand tight. We're going to have to put the negative terminal back on later. And on the positive terminal, we'll use a 13 to remove the nut.
Now, install the positive wire to the battery terminal and reconnect everything. Before you move on, heat shrink the butt connectors.
Okay, also included with your S-Series module is this 4-pin connector with 3 wires going to it. Orange, red and blue, and red and green. The orange and red and blue are going to stay right here at the driver's side headlight, so I'm just going to measure out maybe about 6 inches worth of wire. And then I'm going to cut those. We can simply dispose of the extra orange and red and blue wire. And then we'll just pull the red and green wire out. That's going to have to go over to the passenger side headlight, so we need to keep the length there. All right, now that we've got our 4-pin connector, our orange and red and blue cut to about 6 inches, the red and green full length, we're going to locate the S-Series module. It has a 4-pin connector on it. We're going to plug this into the S-Series module. Now we'll strip the end of the orange and red wire with blue tracer. Locate 2 red spade terminals from the provided kit and crimp them onto the orange wire and the red wire with blue tracer. Now locate 2 red T-taps provided with your kit, and we're going to be tapping to pin 1 and pin 2 of this brown connector here. Pin 1, when looking at it from the rear with the bulb facing down, is located on the far right-hand side, and pin 2 is in the center. Take the T-taps and install them onto the wires. If needed, you can use some pliers to help squeeze the T-tap down. Now take the orange wire from your Boost Auto S-Series module and install it onto the T-tap at pin 2. Take the red wire with blue tracer and install it onto the T-tap at pin 1. For the red wire with green tracer, I'm going to route that over the passenger side headlight. This is for passenger side turn signal. We're going to do everything in the exact same way, stripping off the end, installing a spade connector, installing a T-tap onto pin 1. So you're going to install a red T-tap onto pin 1, connect your red wire with a green tracer to pin 1 over on the passenger side. We're going to speed through this footage because it's the exact same procedure as the driver's side. Just make sure when you pass this wire over, you keep it free of any heat or moving components. Now it's time to reinstall your headlight. If you did install the S-Series module getting the turn signal, make sure to do that over on the passenger side. Same procedure on the passenger side, so we're just going to show it on the driver's side here. Kind of tucked all of our wiring up behind the headlight. We're going to take our park turn bulb, twist it into the housing, rotate that 90 degrees, and reinstall our headlight. And we'll bring the headlight back into position. There is a pin right up here at the top. You need to make sure that pin makes its way in back here. And up here on the front, you should have this temperature sensor likely. That just goes down here in the bottom. So we'll get that headlight into position. We'll reinstall the 2 10mm bolts. Last, we'll reinstall the 1 10mm nut at the back side here. Finally, take the grommet and place it back into the liner. Now before we start the full reinstallation of the interior, we want to bring our front sun visors into position because if they have these connectors, these need to be plugged in before you reinstall the B-pillars. Okay? Before we do that, I want to take a look at our Retrofit S-Series cab light harness and just make sure it's tucked back. You want to make sure it's not going to be in the way of any of the screws that we're going to be placing on the headliner here. Now when it's time to bring this back into position, this black thing likely fell off. That kind of goes up in between the headliner and the roof of the vehicle. So what you want to do is you want to locate the connector, pass that connector straight through like this. Now we will bring the sun visor into position. We'll pass the sun visor wire through the hole on the headliner, and we're going to plug it in. It is keyed, so it can only be plugged in one way. Once that's done, we can let the sun visor hang a little bit, and what we'll do is we will bring this black piece back into position straight up here at the top. All right, now that we have our sun visors loosely hanging there with the wires plugged in, we've made sure our Boost Auto S-Series Cab Light retrofit harness is tucked back away from any fasteners that are going to go up. It's time to reinstall the B-pillars. Let's get into that now. All right, it's time to start reinstalling the interior. We'll start with this upper B-pillar piece. To do that, I'm just going to bring the upper B-pillar into place. Should snap in. Now we'll reinstall the seatbelt with the T50 Torx. Now we'll snap the trim piece back into position and test to make sure we have movement. Last, we'll bring the grab handle back into position and reinstall the two 10mm bolts.
Then snap the covers back on and repeat on the passenger side.
Now push the headliner back into position and replace the two screws that were holding up this black centerpiece. Once this is back into position, you can snap this up to help retain the headliner. We'll do the same thing over here on the passenger side. Temporarily unclip the sun visor, push it up until it engages, then lock it in, reclip the sun visor, and reinstall the two screws underneath here. Now we will guide the wiring harness for the sun visor back in. We can unclip it from the other side, swing it around, guide the wiring harness back up into the clip. That way there's no extra slack to be pinched.
Bring the sun visor into position and we will replace the three T20 Torx screws.
Now I'll reinstall the passenger sun visor in the exact same way. Now it's time to reinstall the overhead console. We'll start by plugging back in any of the connectors that we unplugged. And we'll bring the overhead console into place. Kind of tuck the wires nicely. You do have these two trim clips up near the front, so we'll line those up and then snap up. And that should temporarily retain it, so we can reinstall the two T20 screws. Once the screws are in, simply snap the covers back on. Last, we'll reinstall the A-pillar. There's these two notches here that line up at the front of the dash, so we'll begin by lining those up. And then the A-pillar should just snap right into place. And replace the two 10mm bolts. Finally, snap the covers back into position. Then we'll just retuck the weather seal all around the headliner and the A and B pillar, and we will be complete. All right, and last, we'll just reconnect the negative terminal on the battery, or batteries if you have an auxiliary battery. So we'll bring the negative terminal back into place, guide our wires, and tighten down the terminal. If you have an auxiliary battery, make sure to reconnect that at this time too. And that wraps up the installation of our S-Series cab lights on this third generation Ram truck that did not originally have cab lights. If you'd like to pick up a set of those S-Series cab lights or any of the other awesome products we offer, like our power folding mirrors or our illuminated running boards, be sure to head over to our website, boostauto.com, to check out the latest in fitment and availability. For more videos like this, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's all for now. We'll catch you in the next one.
The products shown in this video and so much more can be purchased on our website at boostauto.com. We're proud to offer a wide variety of products, parts, and accessories for your truck or SUV that will take your build to the next level. To watch more videos like this one and to find out about our newest innovative products for your vehicle, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's all for now. We'll catch you in the next one.